Okay, go.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Jewell, and on behalf of the Council on Aging Board and the seniors in Sherborn, we welcome you to our Candidates Forum. We're very pleased to have the candidates here to share their views and their backgrounds with all of us. Our moderator today will be Hayden Bird, who is a reporter for the Hometown Weekly covering Dover and Sherborn. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Hayden, but I want to remind everyone that we will be taking questions only as given to us. There will be no questions from the floor, and if you can please not clap after the candidates, we would appreciate it, because I know everyone has their strong opinions, but I think everyone here is going to do a fabulous job, and it will make the taping much easier for Pat. Right. So thank you very much. Hayden, welcome.
Thank you, Karen, and thank you to the Council on Aging for organizing this and for inviting me. Thanks to the candidates for joining us today, and most of all, thank you to all of you for being here. I'd like to start, I guess, with just the candidates to introduce themselves and the position that they're running for. We can start with school committee.
My name is Frank Cook. I'm running for school committee.
I'm Michelle Driscoll. I'm running for school committee.
Frank Hess, running for school committee.
Pete Hoagland, town treasurer.
Nancy Hess, tax collector.
Mike Chime, I'm running for selectman.
And Michael Lee, and I'm running for town treasurer.
Speak up, please.
I think we'll utilize the microphone from this point going forward. But I'd like to start with the school committee. If we could start with Frank, if you could just in 3 minutes just state your position, and then we'll get to questions.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm Frank Hook, and I'm running for school committee. And that's Hook, spelled, repeat after me, H-O-E-E-K. Thank you. Spelling and learning is very important. As you may know, or if you didn't, there is another Frank H. running. So spelling is important. Thank you, Karen Jewell, for having this, and thank you, Hayden, for allowing me to introduce myself to you today. I'm running for a second term on the school committee, and I'm here to tell you why. Education is very important to me. I'm an immigrant. I immigrated here from Holland, and the education that I received in the United States has helped me to be able to succeed, to be able to go on to college to get a degree in chemistry. It's helped me to go on to graduate school. It's helped me to get a job in European sales and marketing, and ultimately to become director of sales and marketing for a scientific company. In fact, it allowed me to, 19 years ago, be able to buy a home here in Sherborn. In the late 90s, I had an epiphany. I was reading about how poorly our American students were doing on global science and math scores, and felt as though I needed to do something. After 9/11, I actually transitioned into teaching, so I became a teacher to help students do better and get more enthusiasm in science. Through that process, I got my teaching certificate. I went on to get a graduate degree in education leadership and worked through helping students. What should be the goals of our schools? Our goal should be to have the very best schools possible, and we've been working very hard on just that. 3 years ago, we were number 3 on Boston Magazine's ranking of top schools. Currently, in the last 2 years, we've been number 1. But being the best in the state, for that matter, best in the country, is not enough. We need to be the best globally, because our students will be competing on a global market. So we need to make sure that America stays number 1 by helping our students. We live in a wonderful town, Sherborn. I love living here. I'm a teacher, and like you, do not want to see my taxes go up. So it's really very important that we look at various ways and innovative ways of funding hands-on programs and enrichment. We are very fortunate to have the CSA and Dover Education Fund to help with hands-on enrichment. we still need to work on 21st century learning skills and programs. And to fund those, we need to come up with a new and exciting ways to come up with the funding for that. I have worked over the last 3 years to implement a revenue workshop to help and look at new ways of increasing our revenues without increasing our tax base. So I would like for you to consider me for school committee, and that's Frank Hook, spelled H-O-E-K. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. The first question for you would be, how closely is the size of a school budget related to the performance of the school students?
The question was, how closely is the school budget related to the quality and ability and performance of our schools? There is definitely a correlation between the quality of our schools and the budget. For our schools to be on top, we need to have a good class size to make sure that teachers have the ability to provide the enrichment to their students. As I mentioned in my talk, enrichment programs and hands-on programs are very important. So we're very fortunate to have the CSA and the Dover Sherborn Education Fund to provide that extra enrichment where parents donate money to help their kids get that extra enrichment. Those things are very important. It takes money. The 21st century skills requires technology, equipment. It requires teachers to receive the professional development so that they have the skills to be able to teach those students so they can compete globally, again, to keep us, the United States, #1.
And the second question, I guess, would be, you mentioned enrichment programs. I don't know if there's just anything else you could add about that.
I'm sorry, what?
You mentioned enrichment programs for the school. I just don't know if there's, just a brief answer, if there's anything else you'd like to add on that.
So the enrichment programs are hands-on programs, the ability to go out to the Audubon Society and work and collect samples, to see our ecology happening around us, where kids are using computers and computer programs to help with their education, to be able to learn how to work collaboratively with each other, not only face-to-face in the classroom, but also outside of the classroom. If you think about how today in the marketplace people get projects done, it's not just a member, not all members meet in the same room. There are members from various different places, and these members need to be able to work together and communicate together in a variety of different ways, and we get the job done to stay #1.
Thank you, Frank. I know you have to get back to school, so I'll let you go.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it. That's H-O-E.
And now, Michelle Driscoll. And just a small thing to the candidates, I'd ask that we could try to keep things to 3 minutes in your opening remarks if possible.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to first thank everyone for having us here today, and thank you to Karen for putting this lovely event together. My name is Michelle Driscoll, and as I mentioned when I introduced myself, I'm running for the Sherborn School Committee. I moved to Sherborn in 2010 with my husband Terrence, and we have a daughter, Caitlin, who's currently in 1st grade at Pine Hill, and we have a son, Patrick, who cannot wait to get to kindergarten at Pine Hill in the fall. I've been actively involved in the Sherborn community since we moved here. I've served as a homeroom parent twice. I've been an ardent supporter of the CSA, a field trip chaperone, as well as I am an active communicant at St. Teresa's Parish, and also have served on the Sherborn Social Club Planning Committee a couple of times. Outside of Sherborn, I work full-time at CVS Pharmacy in our front store merchandising department. So we work on lots of the things that you see when you enter our stores in the front of the store. My husband and I moved to Sherborn for the schools and the close-knit community. I was fortunate to be a beneficiary of the great public education that my parents provided for me when they moved, when I was young. And I was able to attend both Williams College and Duke University as part of my education. So I recognize the importance of having a good, strong educational foundation to be a contributor in a community. I also have some passion about the fact that if you give your kids the best education that you possibly can, that's going to be critical to their growth and development going forward. And I have nothing but fabulous things to say about our experience at Pine Hill so far, both in the kindergarten and first grade programs and in that community, as well as with the Sherborn Extended Day program, which my daughter Caitlin also thoroughly enjoys. I want to be a member of the Sherborn School Committee because I think it's a great way for me to serve our community, all of you, and for me to give back to the community. I have a number of talents and skills that I've developed, both as a parent of young children, and as a working member of our community that I think could serve us well. I also believe that adding some fresh perspectives is always good for working committees. It helps to raise questions and bring new ideas to the discussion. I also think it's important that parents of the children at Pine Hill have representation on the school committee, and I would represent those of us with younger children, and I intend to be a part of the Pine Hill parent community for the next 6 years. So why would I like to have your support on May 14th? I am passionate about seeing our town and the Pine Hill community continue to advance. I know that we need to work together as a community to uphold our values and to make some decisions around the limited resources that we sometimes have to spread across everything that's important to our town. And I have some specific talents from my work in both consulting and retail that I think could really help the school committee. Those things include strategy development, financial and process analysis, project management, along with budgeting and forecasting. So in summary, I would be really honored to have a place on the Sherborn School Committee, and I would greatly appreciate your support on May 14th. Thank you very much.
The first question would be for Michelle. What would you, as you said, you moved to the town specifically for the school system. What would you say to someone maybe in a similar track who was considering moving to Sherborn or another community? What would you say that Sherborn has to offer in the school system that other towns might not?
Thank you, Hayden. To talk a little bit about what I think that Sherborn has that other towns don't have to offer, my husband and I actually did some pretty extensive research when we were deciding where we were going to move from. We moved from another community, and the reason we did is because we found that Sherborn really had comprehensive and homogenous values around education. And so I think one of the most important things in a community that Sherborn has is a real collective pride around the quality of our education and our commitment to investing in education. So I would say that Sherborn certainly has that to offer from a community perspective. As a parent of a Pine Hill student, I can also tell you that I couldn't ask for better teachers, better staff. I know we're a really attractive place for teachers to be. I think my daughter and her classmates get a fabulous education. That's part due to the faculty administration and part due to the community and the commitment of the parents through the CSA and through the parent volunteering in the school. And so I think those are two of the most important things, the community kind of common sense of values as well as the commitment of the teachers and parents that really make Sherborn an attractive educational community.
And one last question. As you said you're a parent of a child or children in the school system. What advantages or disadvantages do you think that brings to you as a candidate for a school committee?
So as a parent of a student, of a number of, hope to be 2 students, right, in Pine Hill really shortly, I think the advantages that brings is I am closest to, or as close as one can be, to the children as they experience learning. I get to interact with my children, every day, whether it's doing homework, whether it's picking them up from extended day, whether it's meeting with the teachers actively in parent conferences, whether it's attending the Friday morning meetings. So I feel as if one of the things that's an advantage for me is I am able to be close to that Pine Hill community through the eyes of a parent. I think, what anyone could say is a potential disadvantage is that sometimes when we get too close to things, it can taint our perspective. So I recognize that that could be a bias, and I promise that I will actively seek to not only express my passion as a parent, but also try to keep that unbiased perspective of a member of the community, recognizing that we have school priorities, but we have certainly other important priorities in the town as well.
Thank you. And now, Mr. Frank Hess.
Thank you, and thank you to Karen, the COA, for having me here, and that's HESS. I have lived in my home on South Main Street since 1965. We are fortunate to have our 3 children go through the Sherborn and Dover-Sherborn schools. And like most of you in this room, we have been here for the long haul. We did not, leave as soon as our last child graduated from high school. We supported the schools since before we had children, and we continue to support them long after our last child graduated from high school. My youngest daughter and her husband moved to Sherborn about 7 years ago. We now have 2 grandchildren at Pine Hill School. I have been involved as a business owner in the private sector, but my primary profession has been as an educator. I was an elementary school teacher for 12 years and an elementary school principal for an additional 27 years. When I was an administrator, I helped to develop proposals and rationale for collective bargaining. When I was a teacher, I was elected association president and led the negotiating team at the bargaining table. So I have seen collective bargaining from both sides. For the past 3 years, I have served in the Pine Hill School Building Subcommittee and presently chair. At the request of the Sherborn Capital Budget Committee, we commissioned a professional study for a 20-year projection of the capital needs of the school. This assessment determined there are many good years ahead for this building with proper care and maintenance. Using this tool, we are working with the Capital Budget Committee to plan regular, measured improvements to ensure student safety, student health, energy efficiency, and suitability for learning. This regular attention can also help keep us from moving towards spending $25 to $30 million for a new school. The Dover and Sherborn schools have been very successful. This is a recent head of Globe West, okay? And it says, if you're a young couple looking for good schools for 2 young boys, then Berlin, Boylston, or Sherborn may be the place for you. And it goes on to tell about many of the fine schools in the area. The recent edition of U.S. News and World Report did rank Sherborn as number 4 in the state. But the first 5 schools, we were the only school that were a public take-all-comers school. The others were exam schools or charter schools. So we were the top regular public school. As with any public school, Sherborn has students with a wide range of physical and mental abilities. But with the high level of education of our parents and their economic success and drive, we get many, many students who enter kindergarten with high-level skills they have gained through family experiences. And they are ready and willing to move forward. Most people realize that there are special needs at both ends, and indeed all along the learning continuum. We as a school system must be ready to meet these needs throughout the range of the learning spectrum, but always conscious of the financial challenge this brings to the taxpayer. I would like to continue to contribute to the support and guidance needed to help our schools meet the needs of our students, and I would appreciate your vote on May 14th.
Very well timed. I think the first question would be, I guess in contrast to Michelle, you've already had your children go through the school system, and so you maybe have had a longer view. In that time, what would you say have been some of the more notable trends in the school system in that time?
Well, I think it has been consistent improvement, I think, over time. There were many advantages when my kids were in the elementary school and when I hit the high school with a lot of AP courses. Well, now there are even more AP courses at the high school. And my kids were lucky enough to go through and go to good schools and go on and do well in life. And I think that's what we want to continue right now. But things don't stay the same. Things are always changing. We have technology making big inroads as long ago in business and now more and more in the schools. And I think we have to keep up. I think when we look at the surrounding communities, sometimes we see that they might be a step ahead as far as the use of technology. We're just lucky that we have the staff that we have and the good kids coming into the school to help keep us going.
And the second question would be that as a former teacher and administrator, what do you think that specifically helps you with in terms of the position you're running for now?
Well, many of the things you see are things that I have seen in the past. And as far as special needs, I think that I have a pretty good understanding of that. As a principal, I was chairman of the special needs groups that would help determine needs for kids. I chaired hundreds of those. And I think that you can see the trends that we have in town here, which I tried to promote where I was, is that they're trying to keep more and more of the kids in the system. Okay, they're trying to help kids with special needs right in Sherborn. And most of the time they can give better service. Not only that, but quite often it's less expensive because you're not spending all what you spend for transportation. Sometimes you send a child out, you spend as much for transportation as you do for the education, which is a real shame in a way. It's good to have it be put right in with the education. So I think one reason you see more being spent for education as far as special needs is concerned is because we know more. In other words, years ago, you just, if you didn't do well, you stayed back. And if you didn't do well again, you stayed back. And when you drove your car to school in the 7th grade, they suggested, that maybe you do something else. But now we know more, and so sometimes by the testing and the things we know, it costs more to give that help. Just like medicine. I mean, 30 years ago, they didn't do the things they do today. Medicine is more expensive because we know more, we have better tests, we know better how to help people. The same is true in education.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you to all the school committee candidates. I'd like to move on to the race for treasurer now, and I guess we'll start with Michael Lee.
Good morning or afternoon. I'd like to thank the Council on Aging for hosting this event and for providing me the opportunity to introduce myself to the community. This is an unusual situation. For more than 2 decades, we've not had the opportunity to consider what is important in the role of an elected treasurer. Pete Hoagland, my opponent, assumed the office of treasurer in 1978 and has frequently run unopposed since then. I believe now it's time for Sherborn to think once again about what we need from our most senior financial official in town. We started this effort at town meeting in 2011 when we voted for a Department of Revenue study of our town government. The process was reinforced by a Collins Center study commissioned by our selectmen, and that was completed 18 months ago. Both studies validated a common set of conclusions. Our town government structures and processes have not kept up with the increasing demands on local government, even in a town as small as Sherborn. Our town lacks a comprehensive and coherent management system. No official or board is responsible for a comprehensive medium-term or long-term financial analysis and planning, and a function that the Collins Center deemed critical in our current context. Additionally, the reports also detail how we can improve several key financial processes and gaps in our use of computer technology. These reports make the case for change. Will we as a town follow their charge? You may have noticed that changes are underway. We have a new TA. We will have several new faces on our Board of Selectmen, signaling a new generation of residents is stepping up to the challenge of that elected office. In July, we will have a new school superintendent. Over the past 12 months, every single building in our school system has undergone a leadership transformation. I believe my skills as a finance manager and an operations consultant in the private and nonprofit sectors can be a critical addition to the new team that's forming at Town Hall and the school central office. I've developed financial projections for our corporations and nonprofits. I've implemented financial systems that track revenues and expenses, produce financial management reports, analyze and project cash flows, and process payrolls for salaries and complex commission structures. I'll be able to bring a fresh perspective to our financial systems and processes that have evolved as the town has progressed from manual ledgers to a point where citizens routinely use the internet to pay taxes, parking fines, and even dog license fees in some communities. This is an opportunity for Sherborn residents to vote in support of these changes that are reinvigorating our town government. I look forward to serving our town and to supporting our new TA and the selectmen as they tackle the many challenges our town faces in the years ahead. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Michael. The first question would be, how does the job of treasurer affect the senior population?
Well, a financial manager of an organization the size of Sherborn is an important role for everyone in the community, not just seniors. One of the important things is working on bond offerings and things of that nature, as well as making sure that our cash is carefully accounted for. And so that's, again, critical to the efficient and proper functioning of our government. But it's also an opportunity to help people active in town government take the longer term view to address liabilities that have been growing very quickly in recent times around healthcare responsibilities and retirement pensions for our town employees. And again, that's something critical not just to seniors in our town, but to all residents, so that we have a sustainable town government for the long term.
And the second question would be, what specific challenges do you see for the community of Sherborn?
Well, if you really want to get a sense of that, I'd encourage all of you to look at the Department of Revenue reports and the Collins Center study. Specifically, our town has now over $50 million of liabilities between debt and pensions and healthcare responsibilities, and the assets to support those future liabilities is not growing rapidly. And we have the second highest tax level of taxation in the state. There's a lot of challenges that the town faces financially. I think with a new team and a new perspective, we'll be able to get through that, but I think it's going to take a new approach.
Thank you, Michael. And now, Pete Hogan.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thanks to Karen and the COA for putting the program together. As you introduced me as Pete Hoagland, but I just want to remind you on the ballot I will appear as Descom Hoagland, so you want to keep that in mind. My wife Eileen and I have resided in Sherborn for some 42 years. That's my background. I have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in business administration, majoring in accounting and finance. Began my working career with one of the big 8 accounting firms and became a certified public accountant. Shortly after that, I was asked to join the faculty at Babson, where I became a professor and taught there for 35 years and was chairman of the accounting law division. While there, another faculty member and myself formed a small auditing CPA firm, which we operated for 20 years. Then in late 1977, the then treasurer of the town stepped down in midterm, and a gentleman some of you may remember, Dick Husselby, suggested I might apply for the job, which I did, and then in January of 1978, I began as treasurer of the town. Since that time, and in the course over these various years, I've seen many changes, not just faces, but the growth and the complexities of the job and its requirements. It's changed from the time when my wife and I would sit down and stuff the payroll envelopes while watching TV in the evening to become a far more professional environment. Quickly, what's the job of treasurer? The treasurer's principal responsibility is management of the town's money. By law, the treasurer receives the funds and makes the payments based on approved payments. The cash has to be managed, funds invested, amounts of money borrowed to fund the operations and capital projects. The office processes the payroll and manages the employee benefit enrollments. All this has to be done in accordance with state law because, among other things, we are working with taxpayer money. So the strictures and the requirements and the reporting are far more significant than it might be in the private sector. Over the years, our office has worked to streamline our process, find better ways to do things, upgrade our computing capabilities, and improve our operating and reporting processes, and we continue that on an ongoing basis. In recent months, you've been perhaps heard reference to the Department of Revenue, you already have heard about it, report on the town's financial operations, in which they made a number of suggestions, some structural, some operational. We have or are in the process of incorporating these operational suggestions that as they relate to the treasurer's office, and they probably will be completed within the next 4 to 5 months. But I think it's important to note that while the report had suggestions, they found no serious problems with our operations. In fact, they had this to say about the finance team. The accountant, treasurer, tax collector, and director of assessing are skilled professionals who communicate and work well together. Essential checks and balances appear to be in place, and sound practices and procedures have been installed. I've enjoyed the opportunity to be your town treasurer and support and provide service to the town as people. I do bring 35 years of municipal experience and institutional memory to the job, assuming my memory holds, to the job. I look forward to continuing to serve.
And you mentioned your experience. I guess the first question would be, what have been the biggest challenges in your time?
I think some of the big, number one, when I first came here, we had no computers. So getting those installations going and running was kind of an interesting process. I think some of the biggest challenges that we faced are the benefits. The cost of health insurance is a significant thing. We belong to a consortium, various neighboring towns, in which we purchase our health insurance. And through that vehicle, we have been able to improve the plans in terms of the town's cost significantly, make some other changes. And I think from a financial point of view, that has provided us with some significant financial relief.
And I asked Mr. Lee, so I'll ask you, how does the job of treasurer affect the senior population?
Well, I think fortunately, he touched on most of it. The job of treasurer is kind of a background job. We don't interact particularly with the public. But what we do is, when they have capital projects, we have to borrow the money. One of the things I've tried to do to cut some of the sting from that is, rather than just going out and selling a bond for $500,000, having the money and paying interest on it, we wait and we borrow on a temporary basis. It's a little more cumbersome, it's a little more time involving, but as a result, we can save interest. The rates are generally about half in a temporary borrowing that they are on a bond borrowing. So that's one way to have an impact on the seniors in the town.
And thank you to the candidates for treasurer. I think we'll move on now. And Nancy Hess is running for tax collector, so I'll let her speak.
I thank Karen and the Council on Aging for the opportunity to speak to you today. I am Nancy Hess, and I have had the honor of serving in the tax office for the past 23 years, since 2001 as your tax collector. I have a master's degree in education. I am certified by the Mass Collectors and Treasurers Association in conjunction with the Department of Revenue. I continue to attend classes annually to stay informed and to maintain that certification. I take my job seriously, but I think you have some idea of what I do, so I'm not going to put you to sleep with the detail. I would like to tell you why your vote is important to me, even though I run uncontested. Sherborn is unique, a little oasis in the burbs, a wonderful place to raise a family, but there is a price tag associated with that, and it is particularly tough on our seniors, those who come here and become seniors during their stay and just want the opportunity to stay here. I have always had the deepest respect, admiration, and appreciation for our senior population, even before I became one. Sherborn has a long-standing tradition of volunteerism, and I see you, our seniors, long after you have earned the right to sit down with your feet up. Stay involved, stay committed, stay part of committees and projects, and bring your wisdom to the table to help keep what is good and change what you can find better. You often vote against your own self-interests to support the greater good for our youngsters and for the community as a whole. Your contribution and your commitment is beyond commendable. That is why your support has always meant a great deal to me, and I hope I can continue to be worthy of it. I treasure every vote because I see that ballot as my report card. I know you don't have to put a mark next to my name, but when you do, I truly appreciate it. Yes, I get a report card every year from the auditors, and I answer to the Department of Revenue and those who enforce the laws that control my office. This past year, the whole finance team got 2 extra report cards through government studies, all saying that we're doing a very professional, commendable job, that we work well together on your behalf. But your evaluation is most important to me because I live among you. You're my neighbors, you are my friends, we share a community, and we care about many of the same things. Not to mention that you do hire and fire me with that vote. Your approval and appreciation is why I choose to continue to serve. So I ask you once again to make that mark next to my name on May 14th at the election. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Unfortunately, we don't have any questions for you. I guess we'll conclude then. Mike, you can come up and maybe just reintroduce yourself.
Okay, I'm still Mike Chimo. I'm still running for selectman, even after all that. So about 20 years ago, I stood here running for planning board as a newcomer in town, and I barely knew how to get here.
Don't touch the mic.
Okay, I just want to aim it at my mouth. Thanks.
It's okay. You're getting picked up.
We're good?
Yep.
Good, Pat? Okay,
Yep.
good. I was new in town and wanted to get involved with the town and found it very rewarding, and also found that I got very quickly to meet a lot of people who were committed and dedicated to the town. Many of you are in this room today and had long service on town boards or other civic groups. I served on the planning board that way for 2 terms plus a little bit longer. And then I came off of that and was asked by the selectmen, against my better judgment, I agreed to serve on the Tree Advisory Committee. And the Tree Advisory Committee met over about a year and a half, and I think some of you were probably involved in those discussions too. I know some of you were. And after about a year and a half, we came up with a report, and I promptly stepped down from that committee, and then volunteered or was pushed forward for Zoning Board of Appeals at a time when there was turnover on that board. And so since then, I've been on the Zoning Board of Appeals and have seen the town from that side. Professionally, I am a land use attorney. I practice at a firm in Boston called Robinson & Cole. I serve on the managing committee of that firm, so I'm one of 5 people who run the firm. We've got a little over 200 lawyers and a big budget, and I think a lot of the issues I'll face as selectman are things I'm seeing on the private sector side through that position. I was trained as a city planner before going to law school, so I've got some background in municipal issues that way as well. And my practice as a lawyer deals and has had me interact with a lot of cities and towns around the state, which is, I think, helpful from some standpoints, and particularly a chance to see some best practices or worst practices in some cases from other municipalities, so it gives me a comparative perspective that could be helpful. I am running unopposed. Unfortunately, Tom Twining is apparently very ill, and I feel very badly about that, but he did have to step out of the race. So I would still appreciate your vote on election day. I think I have to get at least a couple to assume the position. 5? I have to get 5. Okay. But you always need more than 5. So anyway, thank you, and thanks for coming out, and thanks for hosting this.
Thank you, Mike. And I know I said that would conclude it, but Daryl Beardsley is here. She's a candidate for Board of Health, so I'll let her speak.
Thank you. Thank you. As the last, I will also try to be brief so that you can move on to this beautiful day. So I'm Daryl Beardsley. I'm running for the Board of Health, and I have served on the Board of Health in the past, so I do know that this is going to be a challenging job because it's a technically difficult one. However, I do have a long background in environmental engineering. I have a master's degree from Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and for nearly my entire career, I've been, better, yes, I can tell that too. Oops,
No, don't touch it.
Okay.
No, you don't have to.
All right.
Just stand in front of it.
So for nearly my entire career, I've been self-employed as a consultant, and I work with businesses, governments around the world on environmental issues and looking at how they're operating their businesses to strike that balance between environmental quality and integrity and continuing to provide goods and services that we all need and are interested in. So I think one perspective I have is that I have these technical skills that I can bring to the Board of Health and share with the town. So I really view myself as a nerd who is coming to work with the town on these matters and help people who come before the Board of Health work through those challenging regulations. And it's often for a lot of the projects, which are often related to septic systems, wells, property development, that sort of thing, it can be an emotional time. And so it's nice to be able to help people see what their options are, understand what they are. Again, it's regulations, so there are rules to abide by. We take an oath to uphold those regulations, and then I see it as working to explain to people what they can do and how they can do what they are interested in doing. But by the same token, we're here to help with health and to make sure that we maintain the quality of our environment as it contributes to our health in town. And therefore, for each project that we're working on, we're trying to help the folks who are coming in, but we're also trying to help the people who live around them and guarantee that they have good health into the future. So that's it. I look forward to your vote and seeing you at Board of Health meetings, and happy to answer any questions at any time, not just here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl. And I think that concludes it. I'd just like to thank the Council on Aging again, and the candidates. We could give them a round of applause.
I also want to thank all the candidates. I also want to thank Hayden. You did a very nice job. We appreciate you coming and being an impartial moderator. You did a fantastic job, so thank you. I know some of you also had questions for the selectmen. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we weren't able to pose them. However, I am going to pass them along, and hopefully they will be addressed at some Board of Selectmen's meetings sometime in the future. I would also like to encourage everyone to come out to town meeting this Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Dover-Sherborn High School. If anyone needs transportation, please feel free to call the office and we will arrange transportation for you. And then please go and vote on May 14th. So thank you everyone for coming. Thanks town officials for giving up some of your day today for coming. Thank you also candidates, and best of luck to everyone. Thank you.